All right, let's get right into it. There's this one spot on the map, or actually not on the map, that's been freaking people out for decades. You know the one. It's a place where compasses supposedly go nuts, radios just die, and entire ships and planes seem to just vanish. Poof, gone. We are, of course, talking about the Bermuda Triangle. But here's the big question. Is any of it actually real?
I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi blockbuster, right? A real-life vortex in the middle of the ocean? A place that just eats things? So today we're going to pull back the curtain and really figure out what's going on with one of the most famous mysteries of all time. Okay, so first things first, where is this place? Well, here's the funny thing. You won't actually find it on any official map. It's more of an idea, a general area bounded by these 3 points. And the nicknames it's picked up over the years? The Devil's Triangle, the Limbo of the Lost. Yeah, pretty spooky stuff.
Now, sailors had been telling spooky stories about this stretch of water for a long time. But the name that we all know, that really took off in the 1950s. A writer named Vincent Gaddis wrote this super dramatic article for Argosy magazine, and he called it The Deadly Bermuda Triangle. And bam, a global legend was born. I mean, with a name like that, how could it not catch on?
So what's the big deal? What's supposed to happen there? Well, the stories all have this creepy, similar ring to them. You hear about pilots and captains suddenly reporting that their instruments are just going wild. Compasses spinning, electronics flickering out. Then the radio cuts off, mid-sentence. And after that, nothing. Not a single piece of wreckage. No life rafts, no SOS. Just silence.
And look, this whole legend isn't just based on vague rumors. It's built on a foundation of specific, really terrifying stories. Stories that have been passed down for generations. So let's dive into some of the most famous cases.
Believe it or not, the mystery goes back way further than you'd think. We're talking centuries. Even Christopher Columbus, back in 1492, wrote in his logbook about his compass acting up and seeing a weird ball of fire crash into the sea, right in this area. But yeah, the stories that really locked this legend into place happened much more recently.
Okay, let's talk about the Mary Celeste. This is a classic ghost ship story. In 1872, this ship is just found floating aimlessly. When the rescuers climbed aboard, it was eerie. The ship was in perfect shape, the cargo untouched, people's personal stuff was still in their cabins, there was even food on the dinner table ready to be eaten. The only thing missing was every single person on board.
But the one case that poured gasoline on the fire was Flight 19. This is the big one. It's 1945. 5 U.S. Navy bombers are on a totally routine training flight. Suddenly, the flight leader radios in, totally confused. He says his compasses are busted. The other pilots? Same problem. They're lost. And then, complete radio silence. They're just gone. But wait, it gets crazier. A rescue plane sent to look for them, it also disappeared. 6 planes, 27 men, vanished in a single afternoon.
Okay, but hold on a second. This all raises a pretty obvious question, right? If this place is such a death trap, why do we have massive cruise ships and jumbo jets flying through it literally every single day? Why isn't the news constantly reporting on disasters?
Well, here's where we get to the heart of it. Let's be honest. Mysteries are fun. And they sell. We are just wired to love a good conspiracy, something we can't explain. It's way more exciting than hearing about, boring facts. An entire industry, books, movies, you name it, has popped up around the Bermuda Triangle. Because, let's face it, a story about aliens or a lost underwater city is a lot more entertaining than a story about a storm.
All right, so let's do a reality check. Let's look at the facts. Fact 1, the US Navy, they don't even recognize the term Bermuda Triangle. It's not a thing to them. Fact 2, you won't find it on any official map, anywhere. Fact 3, this so-called danger zone is actually one of the busiest shipping and flight paths in the entire world. And maybe the biggest kicker? Statistically, it's not even close to being the top 10 most dangerous bodies of water.
Now you might hear the number 75. That's roughly how many ships and planes have been reported lost there over the last 100 years or so. And okay, 75, that sounds like a lot, but let's actually put that number in perspective for a second.
Let's travel to the other side of the world for a minute, to a spot off the coast of Japan called the Dragon's Triangle. It's a high-traffic area, just like the Bermuda Triangle, and it has a very similar number of weird disappearances. So, have you ever heard of it? My guess is probably not. And why is that? Simple.
there aren't a ton of Hollywood blockbusters about it. The fame of the Bermuda Triangle really comes down to media hype, not any actual unusual danger.
So, if it's not aliens or sea monsters or some underwater portal, what is it? Well, this is where things get really interesting, because science actually has some pretty awesome explanations that, honestly, are way cooler than any of the myths. Let's start with those crazy compasses. To get this, you just need to know one thing. There are actually two norths on our planet. You've got true north, which is the actual North Pole, the top of the globe, and then you have magnetic north, which is what a compass points to. And usually, those two spots are not in the same place. This is where something called the agonic line comes in. It's a special imaginary line that moves around the Earth where, get this, magnetic north and true north line up perfectly. And for a very long time, that line ran right through the Bermuda Triangle. So can you imagine being an old-school navigator? You're sailing along and all of a sudden your compass seems to go haywire, when in reality, for the first time, it's actually pointing to true north. It's a totally natural thing that just looks super weird if you don't know what's happening. Okay, what about things just vanishing in an instant? Well, what about the weather? Satellites have spotted these really bizarre, hexagon-shaped clouds over the area. And scientists think these clouds can create something they call air bombs. Basically, they are these insane microbursts of air that shoot down towards the ocean at over 170 miles an hour. They can create monster waves out of nowhere that could flip a ship or knock a plane right out of the sky in seconds.
And check this out, there's another wild theory that comes from the ocean floor itself. The seabed there is loaded with something called methane hydrates. Basically, huge frozen pockets of methane gas. If there's a small tremor or a landslide underwater, these pockets can suddenly burst open, releasing a massive amount of gas bubbles. This makes the water's density drop like a rock. A ship floating right above it would instantly lose all buoyancy and just sink. Straight to the bottom, in seconds. Gone.
So when you start putting all these pieces together, the media hype, the fact that it's a super busy area, and all these unique, natural scientific quirks, a totally different picture starts to form. It's time to lay out the final verdict. Let's look at the cold, hard data, because numbers don't lie. According to the people who actually insure all these giant ships, the percentage of incidents in the Bermuda Triangle is way, way lower than the global average. I'll say that again. It's statistically safer than most other parts of the ocean.
And that brings us to the conclusion from scientists like Dr. Carl Krastelnicki, who studied this for years. He says the things that do happen there all come down to a pretty simple recipe. You take a whole lot of boat and plane traffic, you mix in some of the most unpredictable weather in the world, and you sprinkle in a little bit of human error. That's it. There's no mystery, it's just probability.
And that's really what the Bermuda Triangle is. It's a fantastic story, it's an incredibly compelling myth, but when you get right down to it, it's a classic urban legend. A story that tells us a lot more about our own fascination with the unknown than it does about any real spooky danger out there in the Atlantic.
So in the end, the Bermuda Triangle isn't some vortex that swallows ships and planes. It's a story that has completely swallowed our imagination for generations. And that kind of makes you think, doesn't it? What other big mysteries are out there that are really just great stories, waiting for us to find the even more amazing science behind them?